edition of NewsTrack, we catch up with the success of the Trailerail business. We visit Taree and get a view from the better half of the loco drivers. We take a look at the Wagon Maintenance Centre in Melbourne, and we see some success stories for intermodal. Hello there, I'm Keith Conlon. We've been producing NewsTrack for almost 18 months now, and we thought it would be a good time to step back for an overall view of the company. John Wells from Sydney-based Jackson Wells Communications, who published the rail industry magazine Network Rail, talks with Managing Director Vince Graham and General Manager Customer Service John Fullerton about employee concerns on the future of national rail.
John, Vince, welcome. Vince, there's clearly a number of issues that employees are concerned about at the moment, and I want to ask yourself and John about some of those. Could I start with you by asking about recent redundancies? Who have you targeted?
Well, in the initial phase, we're simply looking in the managerial and administrative areas of the company. Obviously, we would like to avoid any redundancies if we possibly could, but given the increasing competitiveness that we're experiencing out in the marketplace, we've just got to constantly be looking at costs, and obviously labour costs are an important part of that.
You said you've targeted management jobs. Why have you targeted management?
Well, I think we're out there in the coalface of our operation, in the terminals and the drivers. We've got a very strong focus at the moment on lifting the service quality to our customers. And that's the priority out there on the ground at the moment. And we really want to avoid, as far as possible, interfering with that focus, that culture of improving service quality.
Vince, there are rumours around that you are planning to shed 80 drivers' jobs. Is that true?
Well, no, the 80 number comes from an assessment that if we were to fully implement what we would like to do in driver-only operation over the next couple of years, that could represent up to 80 trained drivers that we wouldn't need. But of course, at the moment, we are working significant levels of overtime, and rather than cut jobs, we'd much prefer to reduce overtime as a first priority rather than reduce jobs.
So is the sign of the retrenchment of 20 management jobs an indication that the business is not going very well?
Well, it's an indication that the competition in the marketplace is getting tougher and tougher. Now, as a company, we've responded to that by reducing our price. When you reduce your price out there, you've got to do everything you possibly can to reduce your costs without interfering with the service quality and the capacity that you provide to your customers. And I think our employees are very much focused on making the business work, and they know that at the end of the day their job security comes from making the business happen from a satisfied customer.
John, if I could just turn to you for a moment. Safety performance. How would you rank National Rail's safety performance?
Our safety performance compares very well with other industries, particularly in the transport sector. Of course, we're not content with our level of performance. We always need to continue to improve it. 2
fairly bad smashes is not a very good record, though, is it?
Well, one accident is always one too many, but I think you need to put it into perspective. Well, we're having a look at the whole safe working system and the procedures that apply on trains, and make sure that those procedures are properly followed.
John, I think it's fair to say that there has been a common cause in the 3 recent major accidents that we have had. That common cause is that a certain familiarity has crept into the operating practices, not only of ourselves but of other railway operators. So a tremendous human cost in any accident. Add to that the enormous financial cost that goes with the write-off of locomotives, wagons and customers' freight. And I think if there's one thing that we as a company need to do in this changing railway environment is keep a very, very strong focus on the discipline of our safe working. We just can't afford as a company to assume that somebody else is going to set the road properly for us.
I think the other point with safety, it really is a stay-in-business issue. Accreditation demands a high level of safety performance, and if the company isn't performing to that level of safety, our future accreditation is at risk.
Vince, could I turn to you? I want to discuss the third enterprise agreement. There's some suggestion within National Rail that management's trying to delay negotiations. Is that the case?
Now, our second enterprise agreement runs out at the 30th of June, and obviously it's in everybody's interest, particularly the customer's interest, that we have a smooth transition into our third enterprise agreement.
What are the key elements of the third enterprise agreement?
Well, obviously the key element is having an enterprise agreement that supports the future viability of the company. The two things that are important are developing further that culture of quality. Indeed, I think it's a religion of quality for the customer that we've got to be on about. But secondly, making sure that our cost structure, the productivity of everything we do, is up there benchmarked against the world's best, because that's what will give us success.
Employees likely to get a pay rise?
Yeah, I think employers can look forward to a pay rise. Obviously, as a minimum, we would like to see the pay rates keep pace with inflation, and over and above that, to the extent that productivity improvements in labour can fund further increases, we'd like to see those paid when the productivity improvements are put in place. The one thing that comes through very strongly to me is the employees' concern about the future viability of National Rail. They're not talking about their own personal job security, they're talking about, is the company secure? And that gives me a lot of confidence that our employees at large understand that you simply can't take out of the company more than the company is able to give.
Talking about performance, Vince, how's the company going financially?
Well, the last 3 months we're around $1 million below budget on revenue. But as I say, in the same period of time, because of savings in fuel, the new NR locomotives are doing the job certainly there for us. It's a tough job, but we are managing to keep the bottom line in shape. We've just announced our intention to form a national crewing business. So we're out there now offering, both to our competitors, to passenger train operators, our crews for hire. And obviously that's not only giving us an opportunity to increase our revenue from hiring crews out, but it is going to underpin jobs in National Rail for train crew. We're not yet profitable, but we're certainly improving the bottom line at a rate that I think any board of any public company in Australia would be very, very pleased with the turnaround.
I think on a positive note, our service quality is beginning to improve. I think with the arrival of the new locomotives, whilst there was some teething problems initially, I think we're starting to see some of the benefits of them on all our corridors now. Since we took delivery of them last December, we no longer face shortages of locomotives that was a problem with us in the past. The new NRs are now operating on all corridors. 1/3 of our fleet are now NR class locomotives. And I think we're starting to see some improved performances because of the programs that Ginnan is having in place to fix those problems.
Yes. Vince, could I ask, are you focusing so heavily on costs to ensure that the company's lean and mean for privatisation?
Well, obviously, if privatisation is going to be successful, someone needs to want to buy the company. No one wants to buy a dog of a company, and they simply won't bid a price to buy a loser. So yes, we're very focused on ensuring that National Rail is a positive and viable business so that we encourage the maximum number of companies to put their hand up to buy us.
Vince, John, thank you.
Thank you.
National Rail's growing Trailerail business is celebrating. From small beginnings in November 1994, the Melbourne-Adelaide-Perth bimodal operation is celebrating its 10,000th one-way trailer journey this month. General Manager Graham Yench takes up the story.
We operate our services with a lower axle load than, say, intermodal services. That allows us to operate at a higher maximum speed. I guess the main advantage is that we are the very last train out of Melbourne when we operate. We depart close to midnight, and on the second night we are the first train into Perth. That means that we are passing all of the National Rail trains that have left before us, and in fact other operators' trains on the corridor.
The fact that you can use one locomotive to pull 40 or 50 road vehicles across to Perth obviously fundamentally is very, very sound.
Trailerail has achieved a new customer almost every month since Christmas.
The garments that we carry are of extremely high value, so we have a need to make sure that those garments arrive at their destination in pristine condition. If there is a problem, they certainly communicate that to us in a timely fashion so that we can always go to a fallback position, or at least advise our customers that their delivery may be a little bit delayed. The trip by road isn't really as good an option to us as sending by rail. Perth is a long way. There's a lot that can happen between Melbourne and Perth from a mechanical point of view. We're also a safety-conscious business, and to send a driver or a number of drivers from Melbourne to Perth, it's a long way. A lot can happen.
National Rail owns the trailers, and we make them available for our customers to use from Melbourne to Perth, carrying their freight.
We were very apprehensive for many years to embark on the rail project, but we finally decided to give it a go, and had terrific success using the rail between our Melbourne and Perth facilities. I guess the reason that we decided to finally use it was largely because it was cost effective. Yeah, I had a lot of sleepless nights, I can tell you, for the first couple of journeys, but the guys at Trailerail were very good. They gave me updates for the whole journey.
We're constantly, almost daily now, getting inquiries from different transport operators, mainly road operators, but they're the people we're targeting.
Since introduction of Trailerail, we've actually achieved between 8 and 10% market share between Melbourne and Perth.
I guess we see that there will continue to be growth and expansion in the Melbourne-Perth corridor, but we're also planning to introduce a new service from Sydney to Perth.
There's greater potential out of Sydney than what there is out of Melbourne now, and there are a lot of our existing customers who are just waiting for the day when we go into Sydney.
The transit time is roughly 12 hours longer, and it's from a rail perspective, it is a lot more difficult corridor to operate to provide a service close to rail. However, with all of the resources we have available to us, we believe that we'll be able to get a service that is competitive against road.
We've been involved with Trailerail since day one, and we're part of the original pilot project. And we've taken a view that we're sort of in partnership, and Trailerail actually forms the major part of our mode of getting freight from Melbourne to Perth. One of the things that that's very important in our industry is to protect the integrity of the product, and certainly with the Trailerail units, there's not a lot of side sway on them, and consequently the freight arrives in very good condition.
We ride on airbag suspension, a marshmallow spring in the bogie, and also the bogie suspension achieves a far superior ride quality than can be achieved on road.
We do surveys of our customers every 6 months, and the last survey we've had done suggested that our customers have about a 95 to 97% customer satisfaction level.
The only problem I can see is that they don't go to Perth often enough.
Success breeds success, they say. Well, National Rail's intermodal sales division has had a few lately. NQ Direct, a new joint venture with Queensland Rail, will begin operation on July the 1st, serving the growth market between Melbourne and the far north. Then there's a new service out of Parkes, New South Wales, being operated for rail-based forwarder FCL, a major initiative to bring double stacking to freight from New South Wales to Western Australia. And there's also a new service for forwarder Sadleyers, which begins in May. We caught up with Area Director for the Eastern States, John Try, at Sadleyers Sydney Terminal.
The fact that it goes from siding to siding now and is on super freighter standard services, that freight availability is earlier in the day because it's placed on our siding instead of our trucks being down at railheads picking boxes up. The siding has the capacity probably to hold 10 vans at a time. We've elected to take 8 on the initial services, just until we get back into the understanding of having vans on the siding. Certainly this is an initiative, I think, jointly with Sadleyers to protect our part of the business and to enhance the service that we can give to our customers. Rail really comes into its own when we talk about long distances. It's environmentally friendly, certainly keeps a lot of congestion off our roads, and as I say, when we have this infrastructure of private sidings, it's a very efficient way for us to handle freight.
Stability was the theme for business performance in the March quarter, with revenue close to budget. For the 9 months to the end of March, it was down 8% compared with last year. Intermodal revenue was down substantially compared with last year, but Trailerail continued its rapid growth with revenue 22% up. SteelLink also reported modest growth, up 2%. Seatrain held its own against strong east-west competition. On-time availability suffered during February-March from a string of serious incidents which delayed and diverted trains. But the impact of this on service to customers was greatly reduced by the efforts of our Adelaide-based operations team and drivers and terminal operators everywhere. National Rail's wagon unit has the task of ensuring every customer gets the wagons needed to move their freight day in, day out. With nearly 5,000 wagons in the fleet, it's a big job. Vitally important in this effort is the Wagon Maintenance Centre in Melbourne, which we recently visited.
Yeah, it's great. The guys get on really well. I originally was on the shop floor, so now being in the office, and I know sort of how they all think, and we've only had 2 guys leave since we first started.
But I think we're ironing out a lot of bugs. People know the system's better, the wagon's better. We're slowly getting there. A lot of us came from non-railway backgrounds, so we've had a lot to learn.
Yeah, they keep coming. They bend them, we mend them.
I didn't start with the first lot, but been here 2 years and have enjoyed it.
We had nothing here to start with, so everything's a bonus.
We've got guys who take pride in their work, who've got the ability to do a good job, and at the end of the day what that does is it gives us a fleet that is reliable, and that's something that we didn't always had. When National Rail took over, we had a fleet that basically wasn't reliable. It was falling over all over the country, and we've been able to reverse that, and that's what quality is about.
FreightWeb, National Rail's customer data exchange service on the internet, continues to take shape. It's part of the Freight Management Initiative, FMI, and it ranks in importance with new locomotives and wagons for the future of the business. Last time we were in Perth for the implementation of Oasis, and since then it's moved on to Adelaide. Change agent Jeff McAnulty.
Oh, it's gone excellent, I think. The guys have accepted it really well. We've got a long way to go still. We're still learning how to use certain functions of it, but 90%, nearly 100% of the guys have really accepted it really well. We've got problems with our through trains where we can't see, in the actual Oasis system, we can't see what the trains that's going from Dynon to Perth, where it stops in Adelaide, we load up. We can't see the actual Dynon boxes in the computer, but that's going to be changed so that we'll be able to see where the boxes are loaded, so that we can plan a load plan to that train and load our boxes on as well.
Melbourne is the next stop for Oasis, kicking off a big month in June for the FMI team.
June's going to be a very interesting month for FMI. We've got a few major hurdles. We've got the on milestones, we've got the Oasis implementation in Melbourne, which we talked about. We've got the production pilot for ICS, but also we're going to install our first AEI site reader. So as we tag the wagons now, we'll also be able to read it. So we'll start to get our AEI network in place. And all told, we've got about, right now, 47 sites that are going to be marked to have AEI readers throughout the nation.
An essential part of FMI is automatic equipment identification, AEI, which requires wagon tagging. AEI is the key to locating wagons and customers' freight as they move across Australia. A small group has been chasing all NR wagons, tagging 2,500 since January.
RFSY 511, right.
RFSY 511.
With any discussion about rosters, you can touch a raw nerve. For loco drivers, rosters directly affect quality of life and productivity. It's an ancient art now being brought into the electronic age with computer-assisted rostering. One of the system's architects is Chris Goodall.
I know that it's going to improve the quality of rosters and also the quality of the work, and also take the pressure off the rostering people up here in the Operations Control Centre, because it means they'll have become more focused on the driver's point of view. Instead of spending weeks doing manual paperwork of building rosters, the rostering system here can actually produce a roster in 1/10 of the time than what it would take to actually manually do it. And it also takes the human error aspect away from the development of the rosters. The drivers have got nothing to worry about. There's no hidden agenda there. It's there as a tool to be utilised by National Rail employees to produce more efficient and productive rosters.
Taree on New South Wales' north central coast is home for 51 national rail drivers and their families, and all are committed to the company's success. The drivers' partners in particular meet regularly, and we caught up with them viewing the last edition of NewsTrack.
Well, these meetings have been going for the last 9 months or so. They did initiate in the Taree depot. We've now got them going in virtually all locations, and it's a way for us to basically connect with the families, to find out what their feedback is on rosters, quality of life issues.
They help us air some of our problems that we are having. They don't always solve everything, but they do help, yes.
They keep you in line of what's going on, and you do air what you want to say to different things.
We've got to put up with a lot, as probably you know, and with the men being away so frequently, and with, you know, we've got kids and families to deal with, so whinging, no, but just being able to know that you're not alone, I guess.
So how about if a driver claims his days off? Will he still be getting that call to see if he will work?
From time to time that will happen.
So why is that happening if they're actually claiming their days off?
And those wives give us a pretty tough time. They grill us on the issues, they'll question us pretty closely because they're talking about areas that impact on their husbands and on their families, and that's exactly the way we want it.
Well, there's probably more negative than positive, but out of negative comes positive anyway, so eventually it works itself out, I think. At least we get to find out how the roster works, and that's our big beef.
That's all in this edition. Before we go, a reminder to look for your copy of National Rail News, the monthly Keeping Track newsletter on email, and also have a look for the new Network Rail magazine from your own Australasian Railway Association. If you haven't seen it, contact Corporate Affairs for a copy. And of course, make sure all your mates and colleagues get to see NewsTrack. Borrow a copy, take it home, show it to the family. And on that note, cheers for now.